recently I've watched one video on communication, how to improve your communication skills, and it's interesting that a lot of us, especially especially us who've grown up shy and don't really socialize with a lot of people, barely have any friends, and I thought it was very interesting to kind of like talk a bit more about the journey and more of like the stories in the journey and like the progress, because we tend to think like, oh, we just watch one communication video, we watch like 100 communication videos, and then you'll be set. And it's like, no, because all of that takes practice. So I kind of want to share that journey before I get to work, because I'm here already, but I'm super early. I'm like 30 minutes early, so I got time for a video. So let's get started. So before I officially start, welcome to another episode of Mano Menesco. Today we have another solo episode, and I am super, super excited again because I am super early to work, and it kind of brings up my energy because I'm usually really late. Not really late, but late. So it's something I've been wanting to change, and thankfully my uncle sponsored this video today with his car. I was able to drive like smoothly and just like not having to worry like the brakes were gonna come off from the other car. So yeah. And one last thing, if you're watching this on YouTube, don't forget to subscribe, comment, like, share, because that really supports the podcast. And if you're listening to this on Spotify or Apple Podcasts, don't forget to follow. And in Spotify, you could also comment as well. So make sure to do that so I could engage with you guys. Tell me like what topics you want me to talk about, what experiences. If you have any questions, like please let me know so I could know what type of videos I should be making as well. But with that being said, let's officially start the episode. So, like I made a video before on probably like either the previous or 2-3 episodes before, where I talk a bit about my shy journey, like growing up shy, barely having any friends, and then going like back and forth with getting out of my comfort zone. And yesterday, it was yesterday or like 2 days ago, I was watching this communication video where he's like, the thumbnail or like the title of the video was like, you kind of like pass the 88% something of like, because generally like people like now we think, oh, everybody's a good communicator, like they're not afraid to like do public speaking or talk to big crowds or just talk to individuals, and apparently it's actually very hard for a lot of us. And I think especially also because of COVID and the restrictions that we had, people socialized even less. So now it's a bigger problem. So if you learn how to communicate properly, then you're way ahead than majority of the people. So that was really interesting because again, I personally like think, oh, everybody's like good at this, like nobody struggles with this, but no, like a lot of people struggle with that. And so watching that video, I was like, okay, what can I do? So one of the four things he mentioned, if I remember, they're not in order, but it was definitely like practice. So I'm like, I have a podcast, I'm doing good. out of the four things, at least I'm doing one thing. The other one, which I also found interesting, and I think it's really really important, but we tend to neglect it a lot. Is at least I tend to neglect it a lot. Is the dressing up, the dressing up, feeling more confident, you know, and that goes like hygiene. So I need to buy perfume so I could like smell like roses. And then just like dressing, I probably like, I'm wearing a hoodie, like that's usually what I wear. Or if you see my videos, I just wear like black, which is, there's nothing bad about it because I personally like it, but I know I would like to experiment with my style as well. So if there's any brands trying to sponsor small podcast creators, hit me up. But yeah, so that was one. So it was like improve your like how, not how you look. Like obviously you don't want like go to the extreme of like, oh yeah, I need a coach, I need branded clothing. Like no, it's what you feel comfortable and what makes you feel confident. Because I could wear a hoodie and I could be the confidentest the most confident person, compared to if I were to wear branded clothes, I'd be like, yeah, no, this is not me. This is not who I am. So that would make me feel unconfident. Is that's the word? I'm gonna feel not confident. The other one was, and I think that was the first one. It's your intention creates tension, or something like that. So if he gave the example of like meeting this girl, like talking to this girl, and if you were to go with the intention of I need this person to like me, there's gonna be a lot of tension because you're trying to be someone that you're not. Because one, how would you know if she'll like you or not based on who you are, and if you're not acting accordingly to who you are, and then yeah, so intention creates. I'm like thinking how to explain this properly. This is why you should practice when you speak and like do a presentation or a podcast episode. But I really thought it was really interesting because it is true. Like when you go through with this intention of connecting with somebody, like, oh, curiosity, peace, like being grounded, like, okay, take a deep breath. Like we both don't know each other. We both are probably scared to talk to each other because we don't know who we are at all. So there might be like this bit of silence, but if you know like what type of questions to ask, listen. I think that was the second point too, is like listen instead of just like either like want to talk all the time or talk about yourself only instead of a back and forth conversation. So it was intention creates tension, or your intention creates tension. Dress appropriate, dress more confidently. uh what's the one that I just mentioned right now? Listening, and then practice. And I think I'm mistaking listening with something else, because I think there was something different. I'm not completely sure, but it's so interesting because I keep saying interesting a lot. But it is interesting that he put some clips of like when he started YouTube, and this dude is probably like 20 or less, or maybe like 20 something, because he started YouTube pretty young, like 5 years. So let's say like 13, 14, 15. So he showed a clip of when he got started, and it's completely it's definitely evolved. And we think that it's gonna take like a couple days, a couple weeks, maybe even a couple months. But in reality, like, it's always evolving, and there's so many things we could practice on, and sometimes we don't have the right environment to actually practice. Like if I were to want public speaking and talk to hundreds of people, for me right now, it would be really hard to get into that environment unless I do like, oh, my voice is staying. Unless I do like Toastmasters or something like that. Like that would be different for sure. Ah, my voice se me está yendo. That's crazy. I need some water. And so, just to like really quick, because again, I have to go to work soon. I want to tell like, oh my god, my voice. I kind of want to tell like some like things that I've struggled with in my communication journey, even like recently, and just like sharing that this is a journey, and it's not gonna be unicorns and roses. There's not gonna be no rainbows in every interaction that you do, and not every interaction is gonna be the best. And I think that's one thing that we tend to like think about, like, oh, once we learn this skill, like it's gonna be good all the time. And the reality, I think, is that it's not, because there's always room for improvement, and there's always challenges that you can take, and there's people are so different that there's always going to be a different experience as well. So and you could see this with artists. You could see like they always, not always, but they also make mistakes just like us. Like we're all humans, and that's just part of the journey. But going back to like my experiences, at least from what I remember, because I just thought about this video today. But but yeah, I'll share my experience. Let me know if you've been a shy person, if you haven't. But even if you are an extrovert, I'm pretty sure there's been situations, especially with like trying to interact with introverts, and like they not getting, or not introverts or shy people, or people who don't know how to like socialize, and you've had like, oh yeah, that was a bad experience, or it was really hard to get this person, or even like a successful story of like, oh yeah, I was able to, create this trust, comfort, a safe space for like them to talk. All right, and I think like the beginning, especially like like middle school, high school, it was always really hard to express myself. And I remember I think it was like seventh grade, eighth grade, where oh my god, the teacher, it was English class, and the teacher made me read aloud from this book, right? We were reading it, and I don't remember much, but I'm pretty sure I mumbled and me trabé, like like if I was to say spider, I'd be like and I just got stuck. And thankfully, like, even like, again, I don't really remember because I tend to like block those, like, inside out too, where like where Joy creates this machine and like puts those memories all the way into the back so you remember. That's literally me. So I don't remember completely, but I do remember like that feeling of like shame and embarrassment because me trabé. So I like mumble and stumble in my words. And thankfully the teacher was really nice, so she was like, okay, like it's okay, like don't worry, like just continue. I was like, okay. But that was like definitely one of the things in speaking also. And then even like with my writing, I've always thought I suck, and I still suck because I haven't really practiced it. But for those who are undocumented or from families who speak another language, you usually have to take ESL, and I passed that test until seventh grade, and I think my because it's, from what I remember, the test was always easy, but it was always the writing that messed me up. So I don't know why I never passed that test. I don't know if I was like really dumb when I was younger, or like that really wasn't my strong suit. But I passed it until seventh grade, so that in itself was embarrassing in the sense that I couldn't even like write properly, and it was like, again, really easy stuff. So I really I need to hurry up. I need to go to work. Um, and so that was like definitely when another story in middle school was interacting with like people. Like I used to be kind of like sassy. So in a way, like if someone would say something or like try to bully me, or like like those make those comments or like making fun of me, I'm like, I'll either like be like whatever, or I'll say something back, and then they'll be surprised. So in like that kind of stuff, like there will be times where I did have I was never like scared of like interacting with people, and that's something I mentioned before too, is like it was the connecting with others. Like I was never into like boy drama. I was never into like any type of drama. I was just like, I always kept to myself, and I think that was really good in my part, because then I think I could have like I could have been a completely different person if I would have gone towards that. But yeah, that's the reason I never really had friends. And when I like try to have a conversation, it was always a very dry answer with the people that try to have conversations with me. And even high school, because or sometimes I will even ask the wrong questions too, or kind of like that awkward type of thing, like awkward questions where like, why are you asking that? Because I remember like my friend who kind of like introduced me to the friends that I have now. Shout out to Jenny. I will like when our first interactions were very like very we had living environment together, and she was, I think she sat in front of me or next to me, and like she would try to make conversation, and we like like the driest answer, at least from what I remember, like correct me if I'm wrong. um and it was always like just being there, especially even like when we had lunch together, it was like being there and like listening, but I would never interact either. It would just be like me listening to the thing, and then maybe later on, like after a couple months, I would like say more, but even like then it will still be really hard for me to express my feelings. And it's been 15 minutes, and I need probably have like 5 more minutes to leave, so I could be early and clock in early. But yeah, so high school, when 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 I would start talking to like people, like just having conversations, not like trying to be friends with them, but I would try to ask questions, be a bit more curious of like, oh, what do you do? Or not even what do you do because we're in high school, but like, what do you like? Talk about something that happened, or like if usually it was sports, so talk about sports. In I don't know, like what I don't even remember. It was probably like that starting is like okay, going with that back and forth, or talking about assignments or something like that. But again, I still wouldn't really talk, and that's the same thing with college. And one of the things that I think this is like the main thing I wanted to talk about is that my voice cracks a lot, or at least used to. I feel like now I don't maybe it's because I don't really talk as much anymore, still. But the times that I used to talk before, my voice will crack, and be like I would be like saying something like hello, and then like that would be so embarrassing, especially it'll be more embarrassing when obviously when it's like a crowd and like people could listen, or when it's in class. And that would be really embarrassing, and that would make me want to like go back into my show, like okay, like this is really really bad. But thankfully I've watched videos where it's like okay, you just have to breathe a bit more, you have to take deep breaths, you have to slow down the when you talk, because that would be another thing. And I mentioned this in the previous video, where when I did try to say my when I try to like get out of my comfort zone and express, especially like with family, I will speak really 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 fast. And even recently I was like talking to my cousin maybe like a month or two ago, and I was like saying something that literally when I was ending my like what I had to say and what I said, I was like like I would not breathe when I would say when I will express myself and like say my opinion. And that would be really funny, and that's something I really 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 try to work on. And even now in my podcast, there's times where okay, maybe I should speak a bit slower. Sometimes I get really excited and I start talking really 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 quick, and I'm like, okay, you need you need to breathe at least in between. Like maybe you could talk really quick and then like take a deep breath so you could not go out of breath. um but let's see, I think those were like the main issues for me, is not being able to express myself. There's been a lot of times where I'm like um or lose my my train of thought, pronouncing words in English too. Like even though I've been here since I was 4 years old, so almost 20 years being here, it's crazy that I could still mispronounce certain words. Like even I think the one that I've always had problem with was like food, because I feel like I'm either saying the F really like or I'm not saying the D, so food. And there's like words like that where it's like, because I feel like I haven't had practice on speaking, there's like words I just can't pronounce. And that's so funny. And in some in a little, like if it was a pie, there's still that level of embarrassment. It's like, why can't I pronounce these certain words? But it's like it's part of the journey. Like it's part of my story, I guess, where I've isolated myself so much and not socialized, like barely socialized growing up, that you're not speaking. Like speaking is a skill. Speaking takes practice, and if you don't do that, then you're gonna lose it. And apparently, you're gonna mispronounce a lot of words. So that's been a really interesting thing, and I think those have been like the biggest embarrassments. It's just not being able to express myself, losing my train of thought a lot, when people ask for my opinion, and not being able to like, and like just giving really dry answers, and then like not trying to keep up with the conversation. And then um I was gonna say something else, somebody yeah, and I think the voice cracks, it's been like the hardest thing and the most, I think probably one of the most embarrassing things. But thankfully, like I've mentioned in the previous podcast, I've tried to do certain things to help me uh, improve my communication, improve my expressing my thoughts, which is honestly still something I still need to do more. I've found this exercise where you kind of like tell a story of whatever it is, and then you try to minimize it to, let's say it's 100 words, you minimize it to 50 words, and then 25 words, and then maybe like one sentence. I saw that and I was like, I was gonna do this like every day for I think it was this month or last month, but I just never got to it. So I'm like, okay, whatever. But I'll definitely try to do it maybe this week or next week that's coming up for 7 days and like see how that goes. But yeah, I feel like I should prepare more with my stories. They've all really been the same, where it's like I just don't interact, and I think because I've lost a lot of interest in just life, I tend to like not. I kind of lost my curiosity. I feel like when I was younger, maybe not with people, but definitely, or with people who I didn't know, like people from YouTube or people who were doing things that that I found or that I admired really. I will care about that. But when it came with like people who were with me, I just was never really curious, and I feel like even now I still lose interest, and I'm not as curious of others. Like I don't go with the intention of connection. It's more of like I kind of have to talk to you, or yeah, it's more of I kind of have to talk to you, and I feel like it's not fair to me put expectations on other people. It's like you should have like this amazing life so I could talk to you. I think that's kind of messed up. Um, yeah, so I feel like I should definitely oh, I'm definitely trying to more like let go of the expectations, because even myself I don't have the expectations that I expect of others. And maybe that's another reason. Oh, actually that's a big reason, is that I've also always thought that I'm a boring person and I have nothing to say. Like not just because I don't know how to express it, like I literally feel like I live under a rock where I'm not cultured in all of these things of like pop culture, drama, documentaries, movies, or anything like that, where I really don't have nothing to say except about my experiences, and then my experiences are not even that, like, again, I feel like they're boring and I live a boring life, which is not bad, but it's not a life that I want to keep living. Like if someone were to tell me, oh, you're gonna live this life for the next 5 years, how you're living it now, how you feel now, I'd be like, yeah, no, I need to improve a bit more, so or evolve a bit more, or transform a bit more, to actually want this life. I'm trying to remember if I have something else to say because I have to leave soon. But yeah, I think boring. I definitely need to change that perspective that my life is boring, and even I was having something I've been doing recently too, and is like it's still like it's really hard for me to have a conversation, and I tend to have really ask really deep questions, like deep conversation questions. So I just hope like whoever I ask them to, like they answer. And someone I've been talking to recently, or I've tried to like say hi, like how are you, and like talk a bit more, is like to my boss, because like these people have skills, like they have leadership skills, they have like management skills, organizational skills, where I feel like everything's chaos, or like feels chaotic, where you need to figure out a lot of things. I was like, oh, that's like really really nice to have if it's a balance, because sometimes too chaotic can be like really stressful and burnout and all of that. But I think a balance of like at least like being able to learn something from them, it will be really nice. So I've tried to talk to my boss and my bosses more, so I could learn from them, and through that I'm also practicing my conversational skills. But even then, I feel like they're still not the best, and it's like you kind of like go back to the conversation like, damn, why did I ask that, or I should have asked this, or maybe I should have commented a bit more, or I should have asked them more about this certain thing. But again, it's all like trial and error, and at the end of the day, I think I am improving my skills. So that's that. I feel like I could go on more and like rants and talk more about my embarrassments, but I'll definitely have to think about them more. But those are most of the things those are really the big groups of my embarrassments, and my inability to kind of like talk and socialize with people. But if I think about more, I'll do a part two. Is like specific, like really specific examples. But yeah, I need to go to work. I was gonna click in early, but I did this video, but it's fine. It's cool. I am super excited. I hope. What am I doing? Outro. I'm doing an outro. So thank you so much for listening. Thank you so much for watching. Again, if you're watching this on YouTube, comment, like, share, subscribe, because I release up as a podcast. And if you're listening on Spotify or Apple Podcasts, don't forget to follow there. And in Spotify, you can also comment. So leave a comment so I can engage with you guys, know what to talk more about, and have more video ideas and help each other out and share our experiences, because I think that's really important. Like, we see these people who are like living these amazing lives or have these skills, and then there's us who are in the progress or process of achieving that. But again, it's a process, and sometimes we don't talk about these things where, you know, where oh, that's another embarrassing one, where it's really hard for me to defend myself. So when someone talks back to me, and I'm like, I get so mad and so frustrated that I can't express myself, and I stumble with my words, I start crying. And not in front of them, but when I leave, like, tears automatically start. And maybe it depends on like the type of month, the day I'm in the month. So like maybe my hormones are more like imbalanced or whatever. But that happened this week, and that was really embarrassing because I really wanted to like defend myself, and not even defend myself, but defend my cousin, which is another story, and I won't get into it. But just trying to defend somebody else, and my inability to express myself and like defend myself and like say things that I wanted to say properly, like, really made me really, really angry. I started crying, and it's like stuff like that that's gonna happen because I mean, personally, I'm not used to, one, confrontations, and two, defending, because I've isolated myself so much where I don't have to interact with people. And and I think that's one of the things I'm really scared about, is like interacting with others, because people have so many different personalities, and like some of them haven't really worked on themselves, where, we can't have a civil conversation. It's like trying to not not get your anger get to you, versus defensive and like trying to defend and not trying to understand the other person as well. But yeah, I really have to go. Thank you so much for listening. Thank you so much for watching. Have an awesome, beautiful day, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye.